Welcome back, everyone, to another incredible episode of Chat with Dan. For today, we have on the show, what can I say? We have, I'm speechless right now. What better way to have an epic, badass super morning than to be chatting with you guys? You know what I mean? What can I ask? You know Absolutely. We have on the show here Anna Wright, Alaska Leigh, Alia DeSantis, and Elana Dunkelman. They have been on the show before, so it's amazing to have you guys back here. You guys are all my heroes and legends. I love that. Now, before we start, with this whole conversation, I want to thank those who are watching. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, follow, leave me a comment, let me know what you think. And without further more, let's begin. And I want to start this whole conversation by throwing out the first question, which is, what would you like to have told to yourself before becoming an actor?
I've been in. I can answer if I've been an actor for 20 years, and I really wish I had told myself or knew that it's a marathon, not a sprint, and we're constantly changing as artists, as people, and you'll be surrounded by people who will have varying levels of success at different points in their life. And just because you're not booking right now doesn't mean that you're not fulfilled as an artist. And that, like, going back to the marathon, like, I want to do this until I'm dead, which hopefully is like in another 70 years. So if some years you have a good year and some years you have a bad year, that's okay. And just to like focus on other things that really make you happy, because that'll help you in the long run.
I feel like I wish I could just say, you know yourself better than anybody else. Don't let anybody else tell you who you should be or who you should try to be, and stay true to yourself and what you want to do, and walk really hard. Really, really hard.
I think, like, going off of what you all were saying as well, I find, I don't know if you did this too, but the idea of being like a perfectionist or almost blocking yourself because something needs to be done a specific way, or for fear of failing or screwing up. And I think, like, it's so beautiful to be able to go big and to try things and see how far you can take characters, and until you find like what works for each thing. But it's so lovely to be in spaces with friends or in classes where you can fail freely and explore all of that. And I think to do that more and to get out of your own head and out of your own way, probably.
I kind of imagine like each actor is like a puzzle piece, and we're all different. And like, if we all got the same audition, we would all do it in a different way. We would all bring ourselves to it. And each interpretation is absolutely legitimate and correct. But there's just one puzzle piece that the producers or the director or production is missing. And it just so happens that like that person's the missing puzzle piece. But just because like I'm not right for that puzzle doesn't mean I'm not right for another puzzle. Yes. That kind of just like took the pressure off. It was just like, okay, I'm just going to bring myself like as however I find myself relating to a character for an audition. I'm going to bring myself to that. And if they are looking for me, great. And if they're not, I had fun. Like, I had to work on it, but like I had fun for like the recording, and then I'm going to let it go.
It's such a beautiful realization to have too, right? I don't know if you've ever, I'm sure, like, when you tape with friends, if you tape for similar roles or for the same role. I remember one time a friend of mine who wasn't or isn't in the business had kind of said, like, well, isn't that a little weird when you're both kind of up for the same part? But it's the coolest process, because you do something and then you see your friend bring the character to life in a totally different way, that like choices you wouldn't have made, or you couldn't organically do. And it's just so cool to see like how these two characters written the exact same are two completely different people, but in the same world, Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but like, okay, so I feel like I'm a little bit older, but like when I first started out, there was this, at least like amongst like my peers at that point, there was this feeling of like, you had to be competitive and you had to like, like stare each other down, or like, I never really did that, but like, I kind of felt that from like, there was this notion that you have to like view other people as competition or whatever. And I'm really loving this, like, let's support each other, and like we're all amazing and we're all really brave for pursuing something that's really hard. And obviously, like, only one person gets the job, but like we can celebrate each other and celebrate each other's artistry and what makes us unique and support each other. And like I think that's such a healthier way to approach it, and like so much more freeing. And like I don't want to be bitter and angry at other people. I want to support other people.
Yeah, and I mean that just lifts everybody up and helps everybody do a better job, because you're not like constantly being jealous of people or bitter or angry or being like, well, great, all of my friends around me are booking things and I'm just not, and like I'm never going to book something, and just, you have no connections or relationships or other people who understand how hard this actually is, and just people to encourage you and love you, like no matter if you're booking a lot or not.
I love it. That's awesome. Love the answer. And it's funny because I did grow up with this mentality of life is a competition. Don't trust anyone. Don't be friends with anyone. Just focus and get the job done. And it's crazy because at some point you feel pretty lonely. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
But also another thing that I want to mention is I find amazing the fact that every actor has their own thing, and I've mentioned that in some episodes before, that that there is no like a specific path to go. You know what I mean? That everyone you can take classes, here and there, you can get inspired or take pieces from other people, work here and there, but at the end it's your kind of your path to create on your own, your style, which makes it pretty cool. So awesome. Now jumping to the next question here, what once you start into the whole acting industry, tell me what has surprised you the most about this whole profession.
It's interesting. I feel like the making of something almost surprises me more so than any shock that I've experienced in terms of like my own performances or experiences to do with like lines or other actors. I love how the behind the scenes in comparison to the finished product, where you see like green screens or like everyone needing to hit specific marks, or like scenes that seem to be so intimate when in reality there's like hundreds of people around you. So I kind of like that element of it. I don't really know if that answered your question, actually, to be honest.
Yeah, you did.
Halfway forgot the question through my answer.
Funny when you watch something that you've done and when you see it, it looks completely and totally different to what it looked like on the day. Like the same thing with the amount of people. I shot something in a school once and we only had like 7 extras, but when you watched it, it looked like it was this packed school and the time of day was different, and it's always like that, and I think that's really cool.
Like movie magic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when I was shooting a film last year, we were supposed to be at a sleepover, and they had like the clock that was sitting there because we were like on my bed, and they're like, "Hey, are you okay with it being like midnight?" And they're like, "Yeah, like it's a girls' sleepover and they're teenagers, so like yeah, they'll do that." And just we were supposed to be watching a movie, and in reality what I was looking at was a light and a cutting board going back and forth, and I was like, oh my gosh, like after I'm done doing this, I'm gonna be like, I know what you're doing, like every time I watch movies. And so that was definitely a little bit surprising. And just one other like kind of technical thing that was surprising to me, that did not happen in theater, was that in film, after you audition, you never hear back if you didn't get it. So you don't know really who got it, and they won't contact you, so you just have to assume you didn't get it and just like move on with your life.
All right, anybody else?
I feel like the things everybody said was, I mean, I don't want to do a deep dive on like the dark side of the business. So
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
That's a whole other conversation.
Yeah, of course. All right, now, well, let's move in here. Do you feel as actors that you're not doing something meaningful enough, or like there's a purpose to it?
I feel like there
Yes.
definitely is a purpose to it. Yeah.
I think art is so important. If you think about how
Mhm.
much art we consume every day, whether that's actors in TV and movies or books or music or home decor, I don't think humans would survive without art. So I think that what we do is so important, and the stories that we get to tell sometimes are so important, even if it's just to entertain. And I think that a lot of the time people try and downplay artists a lot, just in general in the world. And I think that that's really unfortunate, because if you just took art away from all of us, I don't think humans would survive.
Yeah, I think I've always, like my family has always been really supportive of my acting career and just all of the kind of creative stuff that I've done. My brother's a musician. We're all kind of musicians and artists, but I have definitely, even though my family is like that, I have definitely been very aware of like how the world views actors. Like if you go to college for like a theater degree or a film degree, or like you don't go to college because you're gonna do that unless you're like already famous, like everyone's like, you're like going to like do a theater major or like a film major. Like, why don't you do something with your life? And like, you're never gonna like make a living off of that. And just like really a lot of negative things around that. And as if like it's not a good enough career, it's not a good enough job. And most importantly, like it's not a real job, which
Mhm.
is the kind of the tones that I definitely have observed in other people who want to pursue this. And luckily, that has not been the case with my family. My family's been and still is very supportive of everything that I do and is helping me get where I want to go. And not being like, why do you want to do that? Like go be something.
I don't know why people feel it's necessary always to kind of tear you down when you say you want to do something in art. That's why people feel like it's necessary to kind of say, oh, it's super competitive. Yeah, I
It's
do
probably
though.
because they wish they could do something as fun as this, or maybe they didn't take the path that they truly wanted to. Like they went to become a doctor or a lawyer because like everyone told them that they should, and they weren't free to like be like whatever they wanted to, like a writer or something. So I feel like that's really where that comes from just jealousy and also just like regret of like that they wished that they could have done that. Because it's also hard. That's why it's so great to have like a bunch of people who understand it, because it can be hard when people don't understand it, they don't get that it's a real thing, and they just want to tear you down, or they're jealous or bitter, and then in the end, like, that reflects a lot on how they feel about their own lives, but they are still saying that to you, so that can still be hard sometimes.
I always find it funny though, because like when they say something like that, you want to be like, how do you spend your evening? Do you read a book written by a writer, or do you watch Netflix that has all different actors
Yeah.
and actresses in it, which, like all the art. So, you can hate on it all you want, but art is what makes life bearable,
And you consume it like a lot, like 24/7. Even just seeing an advertisement on a billboard, that's marketing. They're doing stuff with that already. So I mean, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Even like music in offices. Can you imagine how silent it would be?
They even put music in elevators for that reason.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like we constantly need it. We need it everywhere.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I don't know what will happen. Like, I don't know how we could have gone through the whole COVID stuff without films, without art in general. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
because
think
it's oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, you go for it.
Oh, I was just saying, I think, I mean, art is a way of expressing ourselves and being creative. So, not everyone can be an actor, but everyone does express themselves creatively, like how they dress, the things that they are, that they listen to, just kind of all of those things about who we are and our personality and our creativity all comes out through that. So, I mean, it's very important.
Also, like just a form of escapism too. You think of everything that's going on in the world now, and when we were all going through the pandemic, it's kind of a way of taking your mind off of your current day-to-day stresses and getting lost in a completely different world. And yeah, all art is a beautiful form of escapism, and definitely something that's much needed nowadays more than ever.
Is there any kind of character that you would, refuse to play because perhaps the type of message is not something you believe in?
Yeah, I definitely, um, had to be just really learn a lot about this before I came into this industry, and just be really careful because it's different from theater. Whereas with theater, like you do a show and like yes, it does get recorded, but unless like I'm on Broadway, like most people are like, it's not gonna go anywhere. But with film, like everything that you do is gonna be under your name. So it's really, for me, just being aware of like, the stuff that I am and do not want to be in, just being really aware of that, because it will be there forever. But also the great thing is that you can be selective because like basically everything that you could possibly create is out there and they are casting. So just because you say no to this role, like that's not the only thing that's out there. And being able to know that, but also like, I am still living with my family. I'm only 18, so I don't have the pressure of like I have to pay for, my well-being to like live in a house. So I don't have to pay for all of that yet. So that pressure is definitely off of me. Whereas some people who, aren't just still, 18, it's kind of like, well, I would prefer not to play this role, but like my rent is due, and like, do I want to be evicted or would I, be in something that maybe I wouldn't, love to be in, but I kind of have to be able to like live. So
I think it's great to get more comfortable with that too. And it's good hearing even like that you have that relationship with your agent and that comfort in being able to turn projects down, because I know sometimes like even auditions would come in and I'd be like, I don't like the narrative, or like I don't really like this character, or if there was something, I mean, I can say thankfully I didn't book those those ones that I auditioned for, so I'm in the clear. But like things where there was like nudity written in for the sake of just having someone naked on screen, and you're like, I don't really feel maybe like that this adds to the plot, or I don't feel comfortable, but because you're maybe newer to the business, you're like, I don't know if I should be turning down auditions. So I think developing that kind of like relationship with yourself and with your agent and your work to be like, I'm totally cool to just skip out on this audition, or this doesn't line up with what I want to kind of the art that I want to be creating or what I want to put into the world. I think that's so good that you're doing that. I know that didn't really answer your question. I was just going off of what she was saying. I'm sorry.
All right. Anybody else?
I think that when you're starting out, it can feel a little harder to put your foot down about things, especially because you're trying to, build those credits on a resume. And I feel like sometimes I've done a couple of things that it's not necessarily like my favorite script I've ever read, and I'm more inclined to still do those now. But when something really doesn't align with my values or what I believe in or what I think is really important, a really important part of being human or the human experience or whatever, I just flat out say no. Because as you were saying, Alia, you don't want your name attached to that. I don't want to be, like I was saying in the last time I spoke to you, I declined a commercial about like the oil drilling in Alaska because I was like, I know. I absolutely, I don't want my name attached to that. Personally, that's not what I think should be going on. So that's like a really good example for me specifically, something that I was just like, no.
yeah, yeah. And something that I also did think about too is not only having that under your name, but then if for some reason like it goes all over the place or it blows up, or even if it doesn't, like if you did that, other people will see that, and then other casting directors, they might want you to be in more things like that because you were already in it or you did a good job or whatever. So even if you're like, okay, that was like the one time that I'm going to do it, but then all of a sudden you start getting so many more auditions for that same thing because you just did it in the first place. And just kind of being like, yeah, there's some things like, I think just like going into it, just knowing like what is and is not acceptable, and just kind of defining that before you go in. So when you're, when you have an opportunity that arises, you already know, what you are and aren't going to do. And having a great agent who really does respect you and respect that, you might not feel comfortable doing those things, that's also really important.
I think in the same vein too, not just projects you'd refuse to do, but when you get onto set, knowing the way you should be treated and what boundaries you're allowed to have. Because on one of my first movies ever, I had a love scene and they didn't close the set. And I was a teenager, super young, and there was hundreds of people on set. I didn't really know any better, and I was uncomfortable, but I was kind of just going with it. But when I told my agent at the end of the day, they were so angry to the point where they almost shut the production down over it. And that to me really kind of showed me that, oh, I did feel uncomfortable for a reason, and I am allowed to have a boundary with, especially with uncomfortable scenes like that. I know it's better now that we have intimacy coordinators and everything, but a couple of years ago we didn't really have that.
Yeah, and that's a really good thing too, just to know, because I've only been doing film for about a year and a half. I've been mainly just doing like theater and other things like that before then. But just kind of knowing that, just some things that I still, need to learn of, you are on set and you want to be like self-reliable, you want to be prepared. And so, if you didn't even know something would happen and then it does, and you just had no idea that, could happen, just being like, okay, like if I say something, like, is that like cool? Is that not cool? Just like learning like how much communication is okay, like who you talk to, and like really, just kind of everything about that, which I'm glad I'm still learning, but I have great mentors and a great agent who luckily I can communicate with and just really, be helped along the way as those situations arise.
Yeah, I once interviewed on intimacy coordinator, and behind the scenes, she was telling me that the thing that she's working on specifically is that during those type of scenes have like a total control over it. So we're gonna do this is how we're gonna do it. Make sure everyone is agreed to that, and we're gonna follow this path to avoid any type of miscommunication or or awkwardness or like things like that. Because yeah, it's important to kind of establish boundaries. Even though that it's gonna be, well, basically what I would say is that it's important to have boundaries regardless of what type of project is. At the end. So, yeah. Now, moving on here. Do you take home your characters? And has that ever affected you in a negative way?
Yeah, I agree. I would say no for me personally. It's always really fun to work on a different character, and I think it's really good, like a good skill set. I mean, I'm sure some people do take home the character. Like if it's a positive character, I mean, yeah, sure, but I mean, just you have to be kind of careful with the things that you do, because you are playing somebody else, which technically, like, it's you doing it, and so you're bringing out those qualities in yourself to portray that role. So you have to make sure that you're like, when you're on set and shooting, you can bring out all those qualities in you that maybe you wouldn't normally display. And then when you go home, you can kind of like take that off and just kind of be like, great, like I did have it in me to like be the jerk or to like be this crazy person, but like, that was for acting, and I'm going to leave it at acting. Especially if you're doing like anything heavy, or I mean, I play the jerk in a lot of things, so I'm not a jerk in real life, but being a jerk, and then as soon as they call cut, being like, man, guys, that was crazy. She's so mean, and just kind of doing that stuff, and just having that like good line of kind of boundaries again. What stuff are you going to take and what stuff are you going to leave?
I think having something that you can come home to that centers you and brings you back to yourself is really important. Even just like my bunnies are a really good example. Things like pets or a person or just something that helps you get back to yourself. Because as you were saying, you are pulling parts of you out and pushing parts of you back in. But in the same vein, I try and carry a little piece of everyone I've played with me and learn something from all of them because they are different people. So just taking a little part of all of them along with me and their journey and what I, as Alaska, can learn from that, I think is like a really cool and important part of our job.
Yeah, yeah. I've been working on the Glass Menagerie for acting class, and I'm not a shy person at all, but I was playing Laura and kind of still am. And I've never played a shy person before. And so that was like a really cool growth that I was able to have, and kind of like, instead of being really like assertive and like people will know how I'm feeling or what I want, kind of like I've never like played or like had to like kind of not say what I wanted or needed and kind of be like, like just really shy or like maybe a pushover like at certain times. So that was like, Definitely I do have that in my back pocket now for just, a different way to like live or approach something instead of being like, no, I don't like you or I don't like this, maybe being able to do it in a different way when it's appropriate because obviously it's good to like say what you need and that's important, but also just kind of having that, as something that I've never done before and it was helpful because I did get an audition for a girl who had a crush, and I'm like a lot more assertive than a lot of girls that I know. So being able to be like, wait a minute, I just worked on that, and then being able to kind of like be really quiet and like kind of shy instead of being like, hey, I like you. So yeah.
All right. Anybody else? All right. We will move on then. Great. So, next question here. What has been your toughest moment as an actor so far?
Do you mean like on set or do you mean like personally?
Let's go for both.
Okay. I have a couple of I was in a horror movie. I was in a movie called Ready or Not that shot in Toronto, and it was just in like the opening scene, and it was just a flashback, but I was basically witnessing my husband getting like murdered like in front of me. And it was a very vibrant set and it was really fun, but it was just really, I mean, like the acting part wasn't tough. It was more for me saying what I needed as a performer and taking up my own space and just being like to one of the ADs, like, this is where I'm gonna, like, every time they call cut, I'm gonna go back here and this is like my little prep spot, like not taking up like a huge amount of space, but just like this, like I'm gonna put my earbuds here. Like I'm happy to take notes, but like I am going to just get prep because I had to be like run on and be crying and screaming, and like you kind of need to like stay in that headspace. So that like for me as someone who's learning to stand up for themselves, which has been a big process for me, that was very difficult. Like just taking up space on set and not just being the like soft, like Canadian, like, thank you for letting me be here. And I'm so excited that I'm working. Like, it was like, I need this space. And that was hard, but also like a big learning lesson for me that I can do that.
I experienced something a couple years back, and it's not related to being on set. I think it's more so just like the actor's life and the tests along the way. And it was the ending of a relationship with an agent, which kind of came or felt a bit blindsided. Like it came really sudden and really unexpectedly. And it was during like I guess a more difficult period and a slower period as well. But it just felt like I think I went for a couple months, at least like 4 months or so without representation. And I remember just feeling completely taken aback, and like the carpet was pulled out almost from under you. And in moments like that, I feel like it's so easy to like question one's work and one's talent and worth, and not really sure of like how to move forward, I guess, in those situations. And it's interesting because like that whole period, which felt like a really low point and kind of like, yeah, an unexpected low point in my life, ended up being like one of the best things that ever happened to me, because it created like such growth and connected me with somebody who now is like the perfect person and who I feel like I was meant to cross paths with and be represented by. But it was probably like just a really challenging period, where the universe is like, do you really want to stay in the industry? And I was like, I think so, but like this really sucks right now. And yeah, just kind of stayed the course, and it was the best and the worst, but the best came from it.
Yeah, I had a one of my most rough kind of career periods was to do with an ending of an agency relationship too, and It is like that. I definitely had, oh baby, sorry, I got so distracted.
When you started screaming. Sorry, please go ahead.
So cute. Anyway, I got
Sorry.
no, it's okay. Never apologize for animals coming on screen.
You're fine.
Um, I got to such a low point in that situation that I did definitely have a moment where I was like, is this really what I want to be doing? Like, can I keep myself here for an extended period of time? Because I essentially, little bit different situation. I ended up dating one of this person's other clients, and then at the time they were doing a lot better than I was with bookings and everything. And so it all became about, I was always referred to as this person's girlfriend. And I then became there to support him. Of course, you know, it was the males put on the pedestal and in this business sometimes. So it was like, so I became kind of his side piece and to support him. And I just went to the wayside. And for such a long time, I thought that that was because something was wrong with me. I didn't separate the fact that it was just that this had become kind of a toxic situation. But then the best thing in the world, like after I ended up ending that with great difficulty, I'll put it out there, and then ended up with a new agent. It was the best decision I could have ever made. And my agent now is just, I'm so glad that this is the situation that I have ended up in. And no shade to any past experiences. It didn't work for me, but at the same time, it's everything happens for a reason in this business. And sometimes it's, you have bad experiences on set to prove to you what you don't want to act like when you're a series regular to a date player, and situations like that, you know? So it's kind of just all about learning and growth.
Oh my God, you reminded me. I'll say it after. Never mind.
Okay.
Anna, I didn't want to cut you off.
Oh,
No,
okay.
I'm done.
The one thing that was the hardest, I guess it was really fun, but it was also like kind of crazy because as actors, like, you know, we're not just moving our face in like a certain way, like we literally feel everything that this character is supposed to be feeling. At least that's how I am. But so I got a call back for the lead role in this horror movie. And I have never done horror before. And the script was like she was watching her best friend get stabbed a bunch. Like there was a bunch of like side notes on like everything that was happening. And she was like screaming and like running away and like hiding and like locking the door, then like yelling at him and cursing at him like the murderer. And so I walked into that audition, and it was for like the second side. So the first side was fine. It was just like, you know, normal things, but the second one was like the murder. And I feel like that was like I've never like felt like that before, I guess. Like so I was able to pull some like other like scary experiences into that performance, but just kind of being like, you know, trying to really like imagine what was happening to be able to accurately play it and be like, you know, feeling all of that and like this is my best friend, and you know, obviously using substitution, you know, to make it a real person, and just really like what all of that feels like. So and then obviously so I did that scene a few times as they requested. So it was really cool because I got to go in and kind of like I was nervous but also excited. So I had adrenaline just being able to use that and just like shaking and like screaming and like all of these like crazy things, and just going and knowing like I have permission to like be as loud as I want to and like just be insane. And so which was like kind of fun, but also I mean, just a little different because I haven't, you know, ever played a role like that before. So that would be the one like hard thing. Luckily, like, you know, after I walked away and it was over, like, you know, I didn't carry any of that with me. But, you know, when you have to be in the scene and be in the moment and like actually act that way, you know, even if it's just in a callback, much less like when there's an actual person getting, you know, fake murdered in front of you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, you know you're acting, but your body doesn't know you're acting. You know what I mean? So that I can understand how emotionally challenging might be sometimes. So
Actually, it's really cool. I don't know if you in psychology they talk about the idea of how if you are revisiting a negative memory, your brain can't tell the difference between something that's actually happening to you in real time or a memory that you're just drawing. And basically, like, your brain can sometimes think you're in danger when really you could be like in your bedroom and completely safe, but you're thinking of like maybe a toxic or traumatic moment that happened to you. So it's interesting that, like, of course, in an audition or in a setting like that, when you're dealing with heavy emotions, you feel exhausted or drained, or it's a struggle to do it because your brain thinks that you're almost like experiencing it in real life, when in reality you're completely safe, thankfully, and in a room with creative people, but your brain is like, oh my god, something is happening.
Yeah, because your brain like literally doesn't know the difference. Like emotions, like you always will feel them in the current moment. Like your body literally does not know the difference between like a past emotion, because you're just constantly feeling that as if it's happening now, which is a really great thing too. Because you can use those facts to definitely like change your state and change how you behave, which is a cool thing. But it also does totally make sense why you can be exhausted or feel like emotionally drained after doing something like that, because you like literally like don't know the difference like in your physiology.
Yeah.
A helpful tip that I picked up, which I'm also trying to, like, every time I go to set and maybe it's a difficult day, like, put some repetitive things in place so that, like, every time that happens, I can turn to those things. So you know how, like, when an animal hunts or goes through something stressful, like dogs do it too, like they shake. So something that actually helps your body to relax and like get rid of like tension is like a full body shakedown. So for any actors out there, like, who maybe are having a stressful day on set, or like you just did like a play and you're like carrying that emotion, you can just do like bounce or like kind of just shake it out. So I don't know, just like a little tip that, like, anyway, or if you're just stressed out, you can do that too.
Yeah, just shake it off.
We are animals at the end of the day, so
Yeah.
very complicated animals.
Now I wonder, if you couldn't act by any reason, what would you pursue?
That's kind of where I am right now, because I just graduated from high school. So I'm taking this gap year instead, like all my friends and everyone else I know is going to college after this. I'm taking a gap year, but for some reason, if it didn't work out, I do have a backup plan, and I would go to the honors college in my state and pursue a social psychology degree. So I did some dual enrollment this year on psychology, and that was really fun. So that's my backup plan.
Probably like project management. Like, I'm very organized. It's like most actors. Well, actually, no, sorry. I feel like there's such a weird
Range.
range with actors where they're either like extremely on top of stuff and extremely organized, or like the most out to, like, lunch, like in the most beautiful way, but just like completely unaware and like floating through life. I'm the first one, so I would probably be in project management.
I think if you took arts fully out of the equation, because if I wasn't an actor, I'd probably want to work in musical theater, what I used to do. So like if we're taking arts out of it, as we can probably tell from my reaction before, I love animals. So I'd probably work with animals in some respects. I'd love to do, I almost went to university for marine biology, so probably that.
So cool.
Yeah, also Alaska, I also have a rabbit, like a pet rabbit. So I
You
thought that was
do?
so cool. Yeah. Yeah, she's a Californian and she's all white with like the red eyes.
Oh, cute. I have a dwarf Holland lop. So
Oh,
he's,
those are so cute with their little droopy ears.
What are their
yeah,
names? What are your bunnies' names?
Philippe.
Philippe, oh my, that is so cute.
Yeah, he's cute. He has an
Mine,
Instagram if you want to look at that. It's Philippe the Holland Lop. So
oh, I was gonna say, is it Philippe the bunny? I have my rabbit's name is Coconut. I wanted to name her Buttercup, but she's white with like gray ears, so she looked more like a coconut and she wasn't orange, so I couldn't really. That's her middle name.
aw, that's so cute.
Aw.
Do you have any pets, Leah?
I used to have a little hamster. Her name was Beans. And she was like the
Aw.
sweetest little thing. She was basically like a teeny dog, because she was like free roaming. She never peed outside of her cage, and she would like come up and perch on your shoulder, and you could feed her spinach. She was the best. Yeah, she was a sweetheart. But she passed away almost 2 years ago now. 2 years in November.
I'm sorry, that's hard.
Yeah, definitely was. But I mean, I think she had a really good life, and she gave me a good life. So we went everywhere. We went to like Montreal together. We traveled. We did things. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
What would you
Live her
do?
best life. Best life.
Yeah, exactly. In terms of a career, like if I wasn't, I feel like I would love to be a photographer, or like I don't know if you've seen like the photo where it's like the person submerged underwater and they're photographing like a huge whale. I feel like I would love to do like a National Geographic
I'd be sick, actually.
yeah, and photograph animals and go all over. Yeah,
That's dope.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's dope. I mean, at the end, I do think sometimes that we don't deserve animals. You know what I mean? Because they're so, they're so honest and so, yeah, they're amazing. And I find, like, for example, I have three dogs, and it's incredible that they know exactly when I feel like really sad, or when I have, or when they, like they have this feeling when something is not right, and they will do whatever in their mind think it's best to kind of cheer you up. And also the other day I was checking this documentary on elephants on Disney Plus, which is amazing. You should check it out. Um, that I mean, as I was watching this documentary, I was like, yeah, I mean, we don't deserve animals. You know what I mean? Like they are, yeah, they are the best, and yeah, it sucks sometimes what they would do to them. So.
Humans have a lot to learn from animals.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that's for sure. That's for
I don't know.
sure.
My cat screams at me all the time, guys. So
Yeah.
it's like an abusive relationship.
Okay. That's cool.
That's cool.
That's cool. Yeah, yeah. I do have a friend that he had four dogs and a cat, and by any chance suddenly the cat started barking, and that was hilarious because the cat will be acting like a dog, and he was totally not like a dog, but he will do it, but the cat will do the exact same things as a regular dog. He will go fetch, barking, or like exactly like a dog thing. So that was pretty interesting.
So cute.
That's so cute.
Yeah, yeah. Now, two more questions. So, if you could change one thing about the film industry, or about the whole acting industry, I mean, if there's one thing you can change about the whole industry stuff, what would it be and why?
In terms with our whole kind of conversation of the topic of this roundtable, I think that people in this industry deserve to be treated and compensated fairly. That's what I would change, to put it simply.
Agreed.
Right.
I wish that I mean, I guess it kind of also ties into the union stuff, but like I find the more I learn about how the sausage is made, it upsets me, where like I love this industry and I don't want to do anything else, but like how much money is spent on people at the top versus how much like someone who's maybe just a day player or like a recurring, or whatever terms we use in the different industries. Like I mean, I guess that also ties into like what's going on in society in general, but like I wish our work was compensated. Like, yeah, I'm not Sandra Oh, I'm not like Ryan Reynolds or whoever, like, but the work you bring to the table is just as valid. And like I've been on set with like people. Yeah, like I've been on set with like stars who like literally didn't know their lines, and that's fine. But like I just wish it was a more fair compensation, basically.
I also wish we took a chance more on new material or new ideas. I think that money plays such a big role in the decision of what gets made, and it's just unfortunate where it's like, for me personally, I don't want to see like the third remake of a TV show or a movie or something that I watched as a kid. I don't want to see like a reboot of the same storyline with new new actors. Like, I loved it for what it was, but there's so many brilliant writers and so many voices and stories that need to be told. And I just feel like we're missing out by remaking this just because we know that there's a guaranteed profit that we will make,
Yeah,
you know?
that takes
And
away the creativity in art in general.
yeah,
There's a huge fear in the industry in terms of taking chances on things. Like, there's no middle ground. Like, there's like low budget stuff, which sometimes like ends up being amazing, and then there's the big budget things, and it feels like there's no like room for the, hey, like, let's throw $10 million at this movie and see what happens, and maybe it'll be a hit and maybe it won't. Like, there's a huge lack of that in our industry right now. So there's just all these big blockbusters that are expected to make a huge amount of money, and not everything is going to be a huge success like that. And we need to, I feel there is a golden age of movies coming because of that middle ground that we're missing. I think like movies like Everything Everywhere All at Once, like, mind blown. Everyone loved it. So much creativity, and it won a ton of awards because it was something different. And I think that's coming. I hope that's coming. That's my hope.
I hope we steer away a little bit from all the pre-sold content. It can be wonderful, don't get me wrong, it can be wonderful, but we don't need 3 remakes of the same show. And even if you're going to do something pre-sold, pick a book that hasn't been made before. Like, exactly. And we're starting to get so many, as much as like that is happening, we're starting to get so much good representation of all different, everybody, like cultures, walks of life, whatever, in the industry now. So I agree that I really hope that this new era that's coming of cinema is the golden age. I'm gonna manifest that with you.
Yeah, and I feel like when you don't have any risk, I feel like when you don't have any risk, you take away all the creativity in the first place, because being creative, that's not, pursuing this career, like, it's not guaranteed. And the things in life that are really worth doing, like, they're not guaranteed, and they are a risk. Like, all the people who make it to the top, like, they had, a lot of challenges, and they were not guaranteed anything. There are people who, like, their family is in the industry, and so they could try it, but even that, like, that was risk-free for them. So I just feel like everyone's playing it safe, and you really get rid of, people's own unique things that they bring to the table, like with the remakes, because just like what I said at the beginning with theater, of they're going to be like, well, this person played it first, and like, who really wants to see my interpretation of it, because we're doing a remake. So there's probably only going to be like a few different things in it, and just kind of like feeling like you can't just fully own the character, and you can't like bring it to life and add everything that you want to it, because they're just going to be like, we're playing it safe. Like, did you not see this is a remake of something else, and we want it done this way? And just, I feel like that's just kind of a shame, because there's a lot of cool stuff that's unique and risky, but that's really where the best stuff is at.
Yeah,
I do agree in everyone answer here. I do hope that at some point we can get the chance to see something new, because I hate remakes. I can understand that right now. And the other day I was checking like this kind of documentary in which they were saying that like this tendency now that it looks like companies are focusing on the nostalgia, on the that because it's safe, they are. I mean, it's well known that they're gonna make the profit, so they are focusing a lot in nostalgia and remakes, and that's why we have a shitload of remakes right now and things like that. Which some of them are cool, yeah, but I mean, I would appreciate also if they can focus on new stuff. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're gonna keep doing the same thing over and over and over, it's gonna get boring, and then at some point, like what was that, like 10 years ago or 15 years, like some time ago, that suddenly it was a tendency to do prequels, that suddenly you were starting to see prequels from the prequel, and now we moved from that era, and right now we're on the remake era, and I do hope that at some point we can get something new, because sometimes it is irritating.
I went to a film festival a few weeks ago, and I saw a Quebec film that blew my mind. And I think the content is out there. I think you just have to, unfortunately, you have to search for it. because it's
they're
really
not just
easy
going to
to
put it right there for you.
and yeah, and just like go to a streaming service, what's on Disney Plus, what's on Netflix, whatever. But if you put the effort, which is difficult, I understand there's a lot going on, but there's stuff out there. It just the people who are in charge of choosing what goes into cinemas are just going to choose the ones that are like everyone said, like a sure thing. So it's I think there needs to be some bravery in taking a chance on something different.
Yeah. For example, here in Mexico, something that I've been struggling every single day whenever I'm going to interview someone new is whenever I want to check a little bit about their work, if it is like an upcoming actor or an actor who has focused more on their country, it tends to be super hard to find content. I tend to search hours and hours and hours, and sometimes it will take me to very fishy websites. But anyway, to kind of find, films or things like that in which I can kind of see a little bit about the work. I did find an app called Tubi that has like more indie stuff, which is pretty cool. But I would appreciate if they can make it. I mean, I don't care if you have to pay a little bit, as a regular a streaming service, but at least if they can have like more content to see, because at the end of the day, I mean, like when I started this platform, I discovered a lot of incredible indie films. Yeah, some of them were pretty, in which I will be saying, what the hell am I watching? But some of them will be ended up pretty cool, and I would appreciate if they can focus also on that. I mean, it's okay if you want to focus on the next Avengers film, which, yeah, sometimes they're dope. I can understand that. But, why not sharing a little bit about that budget to indie stuff, to give more opportunities. At the end of the day, I mean, we're all pursuing kind of the same thing, right? And why not let more people to know more, let people know more about films in general, that there is not the Hollywood ones, that there is this huge amount of, which I do think that it starts to open like a little bit, but there's this huge gap that's still missing for everyone to be like, okay, I want to watch this stuff now, or things like that,
But I think like it kind of ties into I think when you're exposed, like, I think it kind of ties into empathy. Like when you're exposed to different experiences and different stories from across the world, you start to understand where people are coming from. And if you don't see that on your television screen, or like let's say just someone sitting at home, they work all day, they come home and they see the same people on their screen over and over and over again, they don't see anyone different, they're not going to empathize with people who are different from them. So telling stories with people who are different, like maybe a different culture, a different religion, a different skin color, that allows them to see those people. I know this sounds crazy, but it makes them see people as human, and then they can actually, empathize with them more. And I think that's so important. And like, I'm hoping that'll change more drastically in our media.
Yeah, that's true. And also another thing that I would like, but that has nothing to do with with the whole acting industry itself. More focus about the audience. That if a project that if you didn't like on a specific film, TV show, video game, that's fine, and not go after the actors, which I have seen like kind of like this tendency now, that whenever a film is not a hit, or TV show or video game, they will go strictly at the actors, and it sucks, because at the end of the day, I mean, you are just hired to do a job. You do your best as you can, and there's a lot of things that sometimes we don't know about. There's like the whole editing side that we, the audience, don't know about. I mean, we just see the final product, but sometimes perhaps the soundtrack was not on cue, and what ended up happening is like the fall of the actors. And I hate that, because it has happened to me already 4 times, that I can't interview certain type of actors because they will be telling me, you know what, I just don't, because I was in this project and I've been receiving like a lot of hate, so it's better if we just cool off. And I'm like, oh crap, so
Yeah.
I hate like whenever as I was saying, like whenever there's this project that doesn't that it doesn't become a hit, they will go after it. I saw recently this article for this video game. Who was it? Oh yeah, Resident Evil 4 remake, that they went after the actress who played certain character because the audience thought that it was not on cue, and they were sending her like a lot of hate messages, and she ended up closing her Instagram page because it was too much, And I hate when that happens. I mean, as I said, if you don't like something, that's fine, but just don't go after them because that doesn't make any sense. I mean, it's a job and they did the best they can, and that's it.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I do like really think about is you can have a bunch of great actors in something, but like we don't decide what we say. Literally, we are like the face of everything, but we're just saying what the writers wrote. We're not like, just ourselves like doing whatever, saying whatever, like we are just doing what the writers do and that's all we have to work with. So, I mean, even if a movie isn't successful, I saw this crazy movie. We thought it was going to be really good because it had a lot of famous actors in it, and you could tell they were really trying, and like they were selling like what they were saying, but like the plot made no sense, and it really like it was just really confusing, and just not really that good of a movie. But you could see that the actors, they were really giving it their all, and so that's kind of a situation like that. We're literally just doing what the writers wrote.
I think in terms of hate in general, I just think that the humans need to learn that the people on your screens and who wrote the things on your screens and everything have feelings and emotions and are a real person behind that Instagram
Yes.
page. I get a lot of hate online. And sometimes it's really interesting because you can tell that these people would not have the guts to say any of this to your face. And it's really interesting what people think is necessary to be said based on, they don't know me. None of these people have ever met me or anything ever in my life. And it's just, I find it really interesting. And I think people just need to understand that there is a person behind that page and there is a person who is seeing what you're saying.
Yeah, and like we're not the people we play like on the screen. Like we're playing a job and everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, like I know you, like I saw you in that thing and like I love you." And it's like I was playing a character, or like everyone's gonna hate me because I'm always like the mean girl. I'm always like the jerk friend who's there. And so it's like I am not like that at all in real life. And people think that they know you because they saw you in something. That just means you were a good actor. But like if you're not an actor, like you think that like that's who they are. And so that's where we do kind of get this like unfairness kind of going around, because unless you are an actor, you're just like, that's just who that person is because they played this character, and it's like they don't have a real name, like their character is like their name, and like that's who they are. And so I think it's just if people could be a little more self-aware and just like you said, just know that like we are real people, and we get to like create other people and play different roles, but we're still ourselves at the end of the day. When we come back home, we still have our own lives, we still have random pets, we can still be the complete opposite person that we played on the screen.
It's cool to be kind. That's it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hashtag cool to be kind.
Yeah, don't be a dick. Just don't. And my last question. Yeah, my last one. Yeah. If we could have this episode, so check this out. Let's say that, you know what, Netflix is gonna make a film about this episode. But here's the thing, it needs a name. So how can we call this episode?
Democratizing art.
Because that's gonna be the title of this video.
Okay,
Art for everyone.
That's it. Period.
Art for everyone.
Could say inside the actor's life, or like set secrets, or I don't know, something like that, because we talked a lot about like what how it's not everything that it appears to be, and there's like stuff that a lot of people don't know unless they are actors.
So how should we leave it?
I think with
the world's changing, and it's exciting to help it change. Hopefully for the better.
It's an exciting time right now in the industry. It's an intense time, but it's an exciting one.
Going through a rebirth, metamorphosis.
Yeah.
Coming, and it needs to.
Yeah, it needs some change.
So the title for this video is gonna be.
You know what? I don't think this name has been used before, but we could call it Women Talking. I'm kidding.
Wow, what a great title.
Over it.
Hopefully you guys have seen it. It's an incredible film.
Sarah Polly would be very, very proud.
Or Triangle of Sadness.
I don't sad though. Or is
Yeah,
that a
like-
movie? Did I just, did
Yeah,
I just mess
that's a
up?
movie though. That's a movie. Yeah,
Oh.
and incredible, by the way. I mean, if yeah, like everyone should watch that film because it's brilliant. It's amazing. But anyway,
Adding it to the list.
good. So yeah, getting back here. So I'm confused now. So what's gonna be the title here?
We've given options. We'll let you pick.
Yeah, you pick.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I'll make sure to come up with something. Maybe I can put together some stuff here and there and make it happen. Count on it. All
How
right.
about secrets, bunnies, and unions?
That sounds catchy.
Okay, it sounded like you said sketchy. I did hear catchy, but I also heard sketchy.
I heard sketchy.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
it could be both. That's great.
We'll see what happens. I mean, you're gonna find out on the title at the end. So,
Can't wait.
yeah. But I mean, at the end, what can I say, guys? I mean, it's incredible. I love your careers here. It's incredible what you do, but also the fact that you keep doing it. You know that is your passion, is your dream, and that no matter how difficult things get along the way, you're still doing it. You know, at the end of the day, it's easy to just walk out of something, right? You just quit and be like, you know what, I'm done, and do something else. But the fact that you keep pursuing it and you are keep following it, and that no matter how challenging it is, you're still standing and making it happen. I mean, that's badass. That's why I say that every one of you is a total badass, because it's not easy. But hey, but here you are, and you're showing everyone that here you are making it happen. So that's pretty badass again.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for having us on your roundtable talk again.
Of course. And I also want to thank those for watching. Thank you so much for staying in the whole time and checking this whole conversation. Let me know what you think in the comments below. But also, in the description below, you're gonna find the social media of this group of amazing, talented people here. So let's follow. You know, let's share some love. Let's make them viral. Hashtag Team Anna. Hashtag Team Alaska. Hashtag Team Alia. Hashtag Team Elana. I mean, you know the way, they're incredible here. And again, guys, thank you so much. Keep killing it. Keep rocking. But most important, keep being this incredible sunshine you guys are, because you definitely are. And I'll be seeing you in the next one. All right.